What's up, y'all? Welcome into the Act First show. We're gonna do something a little bit different today. I'm actually gonna speak to high ticket closers. All right, so if you're a high ticket closer, what I'm gonna cover is 5 questions that you need to ask when you are being interviewed. So when you're on an interview with a coaching company, a consulting company, these are 5 questions that you need to ask at the end of the interview. And what these questions are gonna do is they're gonna help you determine if this company is legit or not. Look, there's a lot of coaching companies out there now, right? There's a lot of people starting coaching companies, but not all of those coaching companies are great. And not all of those coaching companies are meant to scale, right? When they are looking to hire a closer, they are making the decision to scale. But I can tell you right now, I've been in the coaching industry for 10 years. There is a lot of coaches that don't have the mindset and don't have the skills to lead and manage a team in order to scale. So these 5 questions are gonna flush that out and help you determine if you're wasting your time or if you actually found an amazing offer, if you found an amazing team to work with. So let's waste no time. Let's get into it. All right, the first question that you need to ask is you say, hey, if we move forward, what does onboarding look like from here? All right, so what does the onboarding process look like? All right, now, if they say, oh, I'm not sure, I'd have to really sit down and think about that, or if there's any resemblance of they don't know what the F they're talking about, that they don't have a fucking clue, that they don't have a plan, they don't have a system, probably not going to be the best coaching company for you to work with. Now, granted, there might be coaching companies out there where you are the first closer that they hire, right? And if this is the one thing out of all 5 of these questions that they struggle with, I may give them the benefit of the doubt. But look, when you were hiring your first closer, if you're a great leader in a great coaching company, you're gonna make sure that you have a process in place. You're gonna make sure that you ask your mentor. You're gonna make sure that you even just look at ChatGPT, that you have some resemblance of a process in place, right? So an answer that you would be looking for here is you say, yeah, no worries. Yeah, typically onboarding is gonna look like about 60 days. So after 60 days, we will mutually know if this is gonna be a good fit. During those 60 days, I'm gonna have you, shadow calls. I'm gonna shadow your calls. We're gonna train, Monday through Friday, every single morning, whatever their process is, right? But they lay out a plan, right? That to me would be a thumbs up. All right, that's a great sign. So that's question number 1. What does onboarding look like? Okay, under the same vein, all right, I would also ask them, what does continued training look like? All right, cool. Let's say after those 60 days or after onboarding, we mutually think this is a good fit. What does my continued training look like? Do you guys how many sales meetings do you have a week? Do you meet 3 times a week, twice a week, once a week, 5 times a week, right? What does that look like? Okay, why is that important? Because if you are going to a place that is setting you up for success, they are gonna have continued training. If you are going to a place where they are setting you up to fail, they are not gonna have continued training. Now, more specifically, how much continued training? How much do they believe in continued training? This will tell you a lot about the company you are about to work with, because if they say, yeah, our sales team meets like once a week, they probably don't believe in continued training. And you and I know, as individuals who have been in sales for a long time, sales is a muscle. And if we don't use it, we lose it, right? So bare minimum, I'm looking for 3 times a week, right? 3 times a week, we're gonna meet, we're gonna train, right? The great companies, they're probably gonna meet every single day. They're gonna be every single day. They're gonna have some sort of, we're going over data, right? We're training, right? We're doing objection handling role play. Now, there is some nuance to this one, right? Once again, if it's a brand new company, they're probably not gonna meet every single day, all right? If it's a big company, an established company with other closers, they're probably gonna meet every day. It depends on the size of the team, right? If you are the first closer they're hiring, like I said, you're probably not gonna meet every day. If they have a big team, you're probably gonna meet a lot more frequently. So you gotta take that into consideration here, right? Like I said for the last question, if they're just starting out, and they believe in you and you believe in them, some of their answers to this question goes out the window and you kind of build the thing together, right? But if you're looking for sustainability, if you're looking for stability, right? If you're looking for, I want to work with an established company, I'm kind of giving you the answers of what you should look for here. So that's the second question that I would ask. Okay. The third question is really important. So I don't know if you guys know, I've done over 8 figures in sales in the coaching space. In addition to that, I've hired tons and tons of closers, managed tons of setters and closers. And this is one that's really important, and that's proper expectations. More specifically on the expectations of success from a KPI standpoint, but more specifically from a time standpoint, right? What does this role look like? What's gonna be the demand of my time? Because there are a lot of times where miscommunication happens there and the closer ends up angry or the coaching company ends up angry. So let's go a layer deeper so we can figure out if this is gonna be a good fit in terms of expectations of success. So the easy one, and we'll get the easy one out of the way, is asking them what KPI is, right? So, hey, what KPIs am I gonna be held accountable to here, right? Am I held accountable to a show rate? Am I held accountable to a close rate? Am I held accountable to a certain percentage of upfront collected cash, right? What are the KPIs that I am going to be held accountable to here? Okay, now the one that has a lot more nuance is the time requirement, right? So first and foremost, you wanna ask them like, hey, how many calls a day, how many call slots a day am I expected to have? Am I expected to have 3 call slots a day? Am I expected to have 5 call slots a day? Am I expected to have 7 call slots a day? You know, it's gonna be somewhere in that range. If you're part-time, closer to 3. Right? If you're full-time, probably 5 to 7 call slots a day. You probably also want to ask how long those calls are. Traditionally, in the coaching and consulting space, it's going to be like 45 minutes to an hour, right? Those are typical, one call close sales calls in terms of time, right? So you want to know how many calls a day you are expected to have in terms of call slots available, right? Doesn't mean that all of them are going to be filled every single day, but you provide that much time, you provide that much availability to the company, okay? Now, number 2, right? What time are you looking for me to take these call slots? This one is huge, right? Because there's times where a closer may get into a company and the only discussion you've had is like they say, hey, yeah, we're going to take 5 calls a day. But then you get into the company and you find out those 5 calls a day are from like 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. at night. And you're like, whoa, I didn't sign up for this. Like, I got a family, I got kids. Like, I can't do 5 to 10 p.m., right? So it's really important to, set that expectation in the interview, right? The expectations that are set in the interview, those are the ones that are actually going to come true when you work for the company, okay? So you got to ask them, hey, all right, great. So you want me to have 5 call slots available every single day. What time do you want those call slots to be? Do you want me to be a morning guy, midday guy, afternoon guy, evening guy, right? And this really depends on like when they book the most calls, but that's a really important question to ask. Now, the last one when it comes to a time requirement is weekends. Do you expect me to work weekends? Do you not expect me to work weekends? What's the expectation there? Okay, this one is absolutely mission critical. Everything we've talked about is mission critical, but the last one, this isn't the one that's mission critical. This is just, I almost forgot to tell you guys this one, but this is still important, right? In terms of time requirements, yes, you're expected to be on call. Let's say it's 5 call slots a day, that's 5 hours, but you have off the call duties as well, right? You're responsible for follow-ups, you're responsible for lead nurture. But the one that you wanna ask about is how much admin work there is, all right? Closers are responsible for tracking and updating their data. They're responsible for tracking and updating the CRM, right? So you want to ask them like, hey, what are my expectations from an admin standpoint? Or you could just say, what are my expectations of my off the call work? So when I'm off the call, what work are you expecting me to do? This will help you get a full scope and picture of how much time and how time intensive this role is. Okay, so that's question number 3. All right, question number 4. This one is really going to let you know if this company is good or not. What cultural values does your company run on? Like, what's the culture like? What are the values that are important to this company and the company culture? If they're like, oh, I don't know this, that, right? Probably a very immature leader. And when I say immature, I'm not saying like they're immature like a kid. I'm saying like they're probably inexperienced. They're new, right? They don't have cultural standards and values that are important. Or if they say they don't know, maybe they just don't value that stuff, right? Which to me, that would almost be an automatic, I'm not going to work for this company because I'm an individual that, values, mission, that's really important to me. And I want a company that I can align my values to, right? So you got to ask, what cultural values drive this company? What cultural values drive this culture? And if you get a great answer, double thumbs up. If you don't get a great answer, that's a factor that you're going to want to consider. All right, the last question that I would ask here, okay, and once again, this is going to tell you what type of leader you are working for, what type of leader you are going to work for. all right? You're gonna ask, where do you see this company in the next 3 to 5 years, okay? This is important because once again, sustainability, longevity, right, of your role is dependent on the vision of the company. And if you ask this question and the leader doesn't have a vision, then guess what? You're probably not gonna have a job in 3 to 5 years, right? So we wanna see, like, is the mission, is the vision compelling, right? Is it something that you're excited to be a part of? And is there actually a vision in the first place, right? So is it compelling? Does it seem competent? Does it seem like, yes, they are gonna be successful? And lastly, like, do they just straight up have one, yes or no? And if they don't, you know, probably not a company that you wanna work with, right? So those are the 5 questions that I would ask in an interview to judge whether this company is gonna be a good fit for you. So if you enjoyed this content, let me know in the comment section down below. As always, leave a thumbs up. And if you haven't freaking subscribed, I don't know what you're doing, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.